This presentation covers EEO guidelines that are important to understand as you undertake your role as a supervisor or search committee chair. The objective of the training is to review how to promote a fair and consistent hiring process in accordance with federal and state laws. We are guided by the Code Section 103, which defines the equality of opportunity in the university. The statement lists the federally protected classes that every university search process must consider. Specifically, the code states, admission to, employment by, and promotion in the University of North Carolina and all its constituent institutions shall be on the basis of merit. And there shall be no unlawful discrimination against any person on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, national origin, age, disability, genetic information, or veteran status. The search committee reflects the diversity of the university and was formed to include individuals who have broad perspectives and who share a commitment to diversity. The key responsibilities of search committee members include serving as an active and informed member of this advisory body in the recruitment and selection process, ensuring efforts are made to recruit a diverse pool of qualified candidates, conducting a legally defensible search that takes into consideration what is permissible and impermissible, ensuring the equitable treatment of all applicants throughout the hiring process, and safeguarding confidentiality throughout the search. Remember, confidentiality does not end when the search is completed.
Why review the job description? Since roles are dynamic and change to meet evolving business needs, job descriptions should be viewed as living documents and not static in nature. Therefore, you should review the job description to ensure it accurately and clearly reflects what's required to be successful in the position. The 5 areas that are included in the description are competencies, knowledge, skills, and abilities, duties and responsibilities, physical demands, and essential functions, namely those functions necessary to accomplish the purpose of the job. Most importantly, a solidly written job description provides the information needed to write an effective posting. Let's consider your responsibilities when developing the job posting. It's important to remember that a well-written job posting is critical to providing candidates with the information they need to determine if they are a good fit for the position. The job posting is key to providing vital information to prospective candidates. As you provide input into and review the job posting, it's critical to consider whether the criteria is relevant to the job and avoids any use of discriminatory language. The posting should reflect our commitment to a diverse workforce and include an affirmative action, equal employment opportunity statement, which encourages women, minorities, individuals with disabilities, and protected veterans to apply. And avoids any use of discriminatory language. The posting should reflect our commitment to a diverse workforce and include an affirmative action The posting should reflect our commitment to a diverse workforce and include an affirmative action, equal employment opportunity statement, which encourages women, minorities, individuals with disabilities, and protected veterans to apply.
It is important that a job posting be free of any discriminatory language. Discriminatory language implies, directly or indirectly, that you are not interested in candidates of a certain race, color, religion, national origin, age, sex, gender identity, ability status, veteran status, genetic information, or sexual orientation. A recent article in the Chronicle of Higher Education highlighted the rising use of words like energetic or energy in academic job postings on the Chronicle's website. Stephen Weisenberg notes that the word energetic could be code for, "We are going to overwork you for low pay and expect you to do it all with a smile." Or, more likely, discriminatory and code for younger, or at least not older. Examples of inappropriate and potentially discriminatory language include only U.S. citizens or green card holders may apply, great opportunity for a student or a stay-at-home mom, requires a young and energetic person, recent college graduate, able-bodied and clean-shaven.
How can search committees avoid implicit bias? To overcome implicit bias in the search process, you should start by forming a diverse search committee. Conduct an active search that takes steps to ensure diverse and inclusive advertising. Evaluate candidates using a defined process. And host uniform candidate visits that allow the candidates to experience the diversity and inclusion on your campus. After receiving a screen pool of candidates from the search firm, you will screen further based on the posted qualifications. When doing so, develop screening factors that relate to the job. They'll help you make consistent, well-informed decisions in the selection process. Recognize that your own life experiences contribute to implicit bias, also known as unintentional bias, which can lead to inadvertently removing well-qualified applicants from the pool. Finally, don't rule out candidates because their path and experiences are not conventionally observed. Instead, recognize that diverse paths and experiences can positively impact and enhance a candidate's overall skills.
You'll be developing interview questions for the selected candidates. These interview questions should reflect the requirements listed in the job posting. They should be designed to require candidates to demonstrate their competencies. This allows you to understand how they have performed in their previous positions. Remember that past performance is often the best indicator of future performance. It is important to ask the same predetermined questions to each candidate. It is okay to rephrase a question or ask a candidate to expand on their response. Do not ask questions that directly or indirectly inquire about an individual's protected class status or that are not job-related. On the first slide, we identified these protected classes which are listed in the code. On a later slide, we also shared a handout on EEO guidelines for interviewing to help you design questions to avoid any unlawful inquiries. This handout provides the specific examples of questions that are considered acceptable or unacceptable based on federal guidelines. Behind these questions, you'll find a detailed list of websites that address the covered categories in greater detail. Please take time to read it and keep it handy when you reach this stage in the search process. If candidates offer protected information voluntarily, redirect the conversation away from the topics and do not consider the information when evaluating the candidate. If you continue the discussion, it could suggest the information will be used in the screening process, and that is definitely not what you want them to perceive. Remember, Section 103 of the Code, which contains UNC's Equality of Opportunity Statement, clearly states that there shall be no unlawful discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, national origin, age, disability, genetic information, or veteran status. Finally, ensure consistent treatment of all candidates during the interview process. As much as possible, set up similar interview itineraries for all candidates. And remember that even social situations are a continuation of the interview process. There are three other components of the interview process. First, the university system records retention and disposition schedule requires all notes from interviews and reference checks be retained on all candidates for 3 years. Your HR contact should be the record keeper. Specifically, the HR contact retains the application materials for all applicants and all documentation related to the search, including correspondence, resumes, applications, forms, interview notes, search committee charge and roster, policies, and reports. Second, you should not use selected criteria that disproportionately exclude racial groups. Criteria must be valid predictors of successful job performance and meet the employer's business needs. Any workplace sample or test that a candidate is asked to complete should be vetted through the university's EO office. Finally, objectively document why the candidate selected is the most qualified, as compared to others considered for the position. Base your justification on the relevant education, experience, and skills and competencies of the selected candidate.
There are many laws that govern what cannot be asked during an interview. You should avoid inquiries which directly or indirectly reveal certain characteristics of the applicant that are protected under the following laws. These inquiries could be construed as evidence of discrimination. Age-based questions should generally be avoided according to the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, or ADEA. Questions related to religion, national origin, race, color, or sex should be avoided unless justified by some business purpose according to Title VII. Employers are explicitly prohibited from making pre-offer inquiries about disability according to Title I of the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. The Pregnancy Discrimination Act, or PDA, forbids discrimination based on pregnancy when it comes to any aspect of employment, including hiring, promotion, and any other term or condition of employment. Therefore, questions related to pregnancy should be avoided. According to the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act of 2008, an employer may never use genetic information to make an employment decision because genetic information is not relevant to an individual's current ability to work. Finally, the Uniform Services Employment and Re-employment Rights Act, or USERRA, prohibits employers from discriminating against employees or applicants for employment on the basis of their military status or military obligations. Title I of ADA prohibits pre-offer questions about disability. Interview questions can span multiple types of discrimination. Asking certain questions related to an applicant's work schedule could suggest religion, race, or sex discrimination. Affiliation-related questions could give rise to discrimination charges tied to race, sex, religion, or national origin. Questions about physical characteristics could limit applicants based on race, sex, or national origin. In addition, background checks could limit employment based on race or sex.
What is behavioral-based interviewing? Behavioral interviewing requires candidates to respond with specific examples of past experiences rather than generalized responses. Past performance is the most accurate predictor of future performance. The framework for behavior-based questions requires the applicant to respond by describing the situation, task, action, result. Behavioral interviews are founded on the belief that past performance is the best predictor of future performance. Questions are designed to uncover the extent to which a candidate possesses key characteristics and competencies essential for effective job performance. Behavioral questions often begin with, "Tell me about a time when," "Describe a situation," "Give an example of." Some areas where behavioral questions are used include communication, organization, problem solving, innovation, diversity. At the end of this training, you will find links to resources that include a handout that expands on using behavioral-based interview questions.
After the interviews, you will identify top candidates by objectively documenting their qualifications based on education, experience, and competencies. As mentioned earlier, these should be relevant to the job posting. The committee should ensure each candidate is evaluated in the same manner. Identify candidates to return for the next round of interviews. Checking references is an essential step of due diligence. Reference checking will be primarily a search firm and search chair responsibility. Typically, reference checking is conducted only on those candidates considered as finalists. Before contacting their references, consent is obtained from the candidate. Using a list of standard reference questions ensures greater consistency in gathering responses. References from individuals who have actually observed the candidate perform will provide greater insights into the candidate's skills, knowledge, and abilities. Essentially, if a question is prohibited from being asked during an interview, then it is prohibited from being asked during a reference check.
Reference and recommendation letters can reflect gender bias. In a study that reviewed 300 letters of recommendation in the 1990s, several differences were uncovered. For men, letters were longer with more references to CV, publications, colleagues, and patients. Men were portrayed as researchers and professionals. For women, letters were shorter with more references to personal life. Further, letters for women used less status terms and included irrelevant support and faint praise, all doubt raisers. Women were portrayed as teachers and students. What are the key takeaways? Be aware that these biases exist. Consider only job-related information and exclude irrelevant support, doubt raisers, when reviewing references and letters of recommendation. Every hiring process is subject to federal and state regulations and university policies. So maintain information about decisions made at each step in the hiring process. If a hiring decision is challenged, such as a discrimination allegation, this documentation is key for the university to successfully defend its hiring process. Records can support that the process focused on job-related requirements, skills, and abilities, and that the process was conducted in a professional manner. The retention period for records, all interview notes, references, applications, the hiring proposal, etc., is 3 years, and the timeline is extended if there is a discrimination charge.
You have a vital role in helping to select a successful candidate for this position. Referring to this EEO information should help guide the decisions you make as a team to ensure a legally defensible search. I'd like to reiterate that EEO-related complaints generally involve an unsuccessful candidate who is disgruntled with the interview process. They allege the interview was unfair because the process was inconsistent, information sought was not job-related, or a search committee member's behavior suggested bias or discrimination. In addition to this training video, there are 2 more training videos available. The EEO Hiring Process Guide for Managers and Search Committees, a comprehensive 1.5-hour training video, and Interviewing Job Applicants, a primer for managers and search committees and panels, a 20-minute training video that provides a refresher to conducting the interview portion of the comprehensive online training. There are also 2 written resources available on UNC General Administration's website: EEO Guidelines for Interviewing and Overview of Behavioral-Based Interviewing.